Good morning. My name is Archana Piaget. I'm doing MTech in Cybersecurity, first semester. Here I'm doing a demo of vulnerability assessment and penetration testing for web applications using Suite Professional tool as part of Cybersecurity Tools curriculum. We'll look into what is VA and PT and what are the differences between these two. Vulnerability assessment and penetration testing both are having same focus areas, but it is completely different from its objectives. Vulnerability assessment is a systematic review of security weakness in an information system. Here, information system can be a mail server, a web server, database server, or a machine or a web application. Here we are focusing only on web applications. It will not differentiate between the flows that can be exploited to cause damage and those that cannot. Vulnerability assessment will only conducted for crawling the web applications to know its functionalities and structure and to audit the web application for listing out the vulnerabilities. It cannot be identifying like which vulnerability can be exploited and which cannot be exploited. Okay, so that is the difference with the penetration testing. Penetration testing is web application penetration test is a type of ethical hacking engagement designed to assess the architecture, design, and configuration of web application. So it will be like an end-to-end analysis, in-depth analysis of the vulnerabilities. So starting from the recognize stage, it will be like going through the complete vulnerabilities of the applications to get to know which can be exploited by an attacker. Penetration testing attempts to exploit the vulnerabilities to determine whether the unauthorized access or other malicious activity is possible. It is typically classified as internal and external penetration testing. It can be done from the internal network or from the external network. There are network penetration testing, web application penetration testing, different types of penetration testings are there. Here we are focusing on the web application penetration testing part. And how vulnerability assessment works for web applications. Vulnerability scanners, we will have different tools for vulnerability scanning. So the scanning tools normally test the web applications for common security issues. Like there are some previously detected web application security issues like cross-site scripting, SQL injection, cross-site request forgery, or some clear text password issue, or malicious file upload, session hijacking, or cache issues. So all these non-vulnerability issues will be tested whether these vulnerabilities are existing in your web application or not. That will be tested using during the scanning phase. Okay, so scanning tools normally crawls the entire website to find the functionalities and application structure and then audit the application to find the vulnerabilities and then finally generate a report. How does penetration testing works? Web application penetration testing is done by simulating unauthorized attack internally or externally to gain access to sensitive data. In case of web applications, like we will launch different types of attacks like injection attacks or brute force attacks using an intruder tool and to find whether this particular vulnerability exists, if it is existing in the application, if it can be exploited or not. Okay, intercepting the HTTP traffic is the basic of launching this attack. So, while intercepting the HTTP request, the penetration testing tool can um, launch the attacks. Intruder tool can do enumeration of the subdomains to find out like some other access points which are vulnerable, collecting useful data and launching automated attacks like snipper attacks, cluster bomb attacks, like that we will see in the Suite Professional tool to conduct in-depth analysis of the vulnerabilities. Okay, here I am using the tool as mentioned, the Suite Professional, and the web application is damn vulnerable web application. It's part of a security project. We cannot conduct vulnerability assessment and penetration testing on any web application or website. So here, DVWA is a intentionally vulnerable website. It is a PHP based web application using SQL as database, and its main goals are to be an aid for security professionals or the students who are curious to learn about VANPT. So test their skills because it is completely legal to test against DVWA. If you are testing against some other web applications, that might be legal. And what is Bubsuit? It is a Java application that can be used to secure web applications. Okay, it consists of different tools, like as I mentioned before. It has a proxy server, intruder, and a repeater for launching attack and for conducting in-depth analysis of the vulnerabilities or penetration testing. Okay, now we'll go to the Bubsuit Professional tool to initiate a vulnerability assessment scan. Okay, before starting the scan under target, we can set a scope. If inside the web application, there might be URLs or directories like which are not susceptible for vulnerabilities like images folder. So such things we can remove from the scope, and we can define only the critical URLs. Like if the scanning needs to be done fast, like we can define the critical URLs which needs to be scanned. Okay, so here I'll go to dashboard and initiate a new scan. Okay, there are different types of scanning options. So here I'm selecting the new scan by giving a specific URL. Okay, so this is an embedded browser of a Bubsuit Professional. Okay, it will be used for intercepting the web applications HTTP traffic. So here I have opened this damn vulnerable web application using a Metasploitable 2 machine. So I'll give this URL itself as a scope for initiating scan. Okay, and we have different options. Like since I have selected a specific URL scan, we have a crawl and audit option. Okay, so we have other options like if we are giving those specific URLs, I mean, we have only crawl option. Okay, and scan configurations. We can configure the crawl and audit using scan configurations. So under crawling, we have different options like crawl optimization. Crawl optimization is a trade-off between the speed and performance. So if you want to conduct a fast scan, we can give it as a faster or fastest. Okay, so it will be like a if like a very fast scan, but it may not be as accurate. Okay, we can set the crawl limits. Like if you don't want to spend this much of times for scanning, we can reduce the time for scanning and reduce the number of locations discovered. Okay, so these are possible using the crawl configuration. So right now, since we need to conduct this scan first, I have given these faster configurations and crawling config I'm saving. Okay, we have auditing. Under audit settings also, audit optimization is the same as crawling. If we need to do fast audit accuracy, minimizing the false positives or minimizing the false negatives, we can select. Issues reported is one important section in audit configurations. Okay, here we need to select whether it is, if we need to conduct one specific type of scanning, like whether it is a passive scanning, active scanning, we can select that. We can also select individual issues from here. So these are all the previously reported kind of vulnerabilities in the web applications. Okay, so as per the CVE database, so we can select one specific vulnerability. Like if you want to, if you are suspecting your web application is prone to SQL injection or XSS attack, so if you want to quickly test whether to confirm that, to give a proof of concept for that, then you can select only those vulnerabilities and then conduct the scan. We have various options for auditing, handling the application or errors, insertion point types. Okay, here this is also an important setting where we have different options, like if the parameters needs to be, values needs to be set in the URL or body. Okay, so we'll quickly move to the scan. So right now I've set the crawling and rotating functionalities. Now we'll go to application login. Web applications will have normally different user roles. Different user roles having different kind of login access and login authentication. So if we are giving those login credentials over here, it can be tested for different types of login. Since login screen is the one which is more vulnerable, and that will be the exposure, the first point of access from the outside world. So like we need to test it for severely for all kinds of vulnerabilities. Okay, here the scanning is going on. So we can see the task which I have initiated right now. Here you can see the status, like crawling and auditing is going on here. Okay, here we can see the actions initiated. The proxy server, this is a proxy server embedded inside the WebSuite Professional. Proxy server is started, and that will start crawling. Crawling is for finding the application structure and functionalities, and auditing is for finding the vulnerabilities. Okay, so here we can see the status of the events which are happening in this web application scan. Okay, so in this panel, we can see the issues which are getting detected. So we can filter out if there is any critical. We are only if we are only interested in the critical kind of issues, we can filter out the critical issues, and based on the severity here, the issues are categorized, whether it is a high, medium, or low, and it will mention the URL path in which this particular issue is being reported. So since I have given the URL as till this root directory dvwa, it will go and search inside every directories within that, like CSRF, brute force. Okay, so it will give the URL path also, so that it will be easier for the developer to fix it once these issues are reported by the vulnerability assessment scan. Okay. So right now, this is the only critical issue which is getting detected over here. I'll log into this again. Okay, so in this DVW web application, it is an intentionally vulnerable website, as I already mentioned. So here you can see the different types of vulnerabilities which are possible in the web applications, like CSRF, cross-site request forgery. Cross-site request forgery is an attack launched by intruder to manipulate a user's request, which is sending to web applications server. So it will be like it will make user perform some action which he is not intended to. So to avoid this kind of attacks, like there will be CSRF tokens allocated to the user sessions. And there are SQL injection. SQL injection is an attack which is targeting the databases. So it will be like a complete database can be dropped, or complete tables can be dropped, or user integrity will be, I mean, integrity of the database will be affected by modifying some data from the users, and it is a very dangerous attack. And XSS is a cross-site scripting attack. Cross-site scripting attack also will be like targeting the user's session, but it is different from the cross-site request forgery, which I have explained before. Cross-site scripting attack, the user will be, I mean, attacker will be injecting a JavaScript on the client side, and using that it will be this JavaScript will be malicious JavaScript. Using that will be making the user performing malicious activities. We'll see the status of the scan. It is almost finished. Okay, so once this vulnerability assessment scan is finished, we can generate a report. So here I am selecting only the high and medium requests, high and medium type of vulnerabilities. Okay, so since this is getting repeated because it is reported in a different path, one is in the CSRF, one is in the brute force and login.php. Like that different URLs, so this clear text submission of the password is there. So in every places it needs to be fixed. Same in case of cross-site request forgery. This is categorized as a medium type of issue. So execute exec directory and upload directory. In both these places we can see the cross-site request forgery. So right now we'll check the low issues also. Low issues are password submitted using the get method. Okay, so since post method is more secure one for submitting the password, and the password we can see that in the URL. So that means unencrypted communications. Username and password is not encrypted while sending to the web server. Okay, so as the scan progress, we are defining the target scope. We can see the site map is also getting developed here. Okay. Okay, we'll come back to the dashboard and generate a report. So I'm selecting uh, all these issues, and now generate a scan report selected issues. So I can generate the scan report as an HTML file. Let's select an HTML file where the request can be stored and where the report can be stored. Okay, since we have selected a faster scanning option, reporting is also completed. We can just check the demo report. Scan report. Okay, so this is a report right now which is generated using this VScan. So here you can see the issues which are categorized, and the complete details regarding those issues will be there. In which URL the issue is getting reported, and what is the and the description, brief description of that issue, and how this issue can be mitigated. So those suggestions for mitigating the issues also will be there. How clear text submission of the password, how we can encrypt that and mitigate this issue. Okay, so in which URL it is reported and which request. Okay, so here you can see the URL path where the issue is getting reported, severity of the issue. Okay, based on the severity of the issue, developer can take action on that. If it is a high severity issue, it needs to be fixed faster. It might be affecting the user functionalities also. Okay, so I'm finished the vulnerability assessment part. Now we'll move to the other part, which is penetration testing. Okay, penetration testing start with intercepting the HTTP proxy. Okay, so here we can see this DVWA website. So whichever request, HTTP request I'm sending from this browser to the web application can be intercepted by this WebSuite tool. And here under this HTTP, under the proxy, I'll set the intercept is on. Okay. Okay. First, I'll try to log into this admin page. Okay. So we can use some common username like admin. I'm giving here, and then try to log into this page, and then we'll intercept this particular traffic. Right now the intercept is set on. Okay, I'll open a new browser and give this URL here again. Okay, we need to set the intercept off before opening it. Okay, I opened it from the WebSuite browser. Now setting the intercept on and trying to do this admin login. Okay, so right now this request is getting submitted to the web server, and here you can see that request which is getting sent to the web server. Okay, so this is our focusing request. Okay, so this is a get request which is getting submitted to the web server using username is admin and password is admin. Okay, so we can conduct a brute force attack on this using the web intruder tool. Okay, to find out the actual admin username and password. So since this is a damn vulnerable web application, it can be like easier for intercepting this traffic and finding out. In actual cases, like we might have to, for in case of the brute force attack, we might have to give a more sophisticated list of word list for conducting this attack. So this is basically checking whether the login screen contains any vulnerabilities like a default username or password, like whether the developers have set some common username and password. Okay, so this request I will send to the intruder. This forward option under this proxy is for sending this request to the server. Okay, so before sending to the server, we can inspect this and send. So right now I'm sending this to the intruder for performing the brute force. Okay, here under this actions, there are many actions like send to intruder, send to repeater. And repeater is a tool which will be modifying the request and then reissuing it to the web server frequently. So proxy, intruder, and repeater. These three are the major tools of WebSuite for performing the penetration testing. And one main advantage of WebSuite is like we can share HTTP requests between these tools. So right now, intercepting is done by the proxy, and now I am sending this to the intruder. Okay. Okay, here we can see that HTTP request which is coming from the proxy tool, and here whichever things are marked here, are all like possibilities of changing this HTTP request before sending this to the web server. So we will first clear this. Okay, we are only interested in this username and password, so we can specifically select those two values. Okay, so these two are my payloads, and now I need to set some possible payload values under the payload options here. So here you can see the payload set. Okay, one thing I've missed out. It's like we have this attack types, like a snipper attack. Snipper attack is for setting one single payload and finding out that. And then the main thing like which we have to select is the cluster bomb attack, because this is for finding multiple payloads. Here I'm trying to find out both username and password. So I'm selecting the cluster bomb and then going to payload. Okay, so here I can see the two payloads. First one is username and second one is password. User, some possible logins I'll give username. Okay, so if more combinations are there, it will take more time for the brute force. So I'm just giving these three combinations, and inside the password, you can give admin itself or login, then password test. Like that will give few combinations for the password payload also. Here payload set 2 means password. We are giving it as a simple list type. Payload processing, we don't have to select anything here. And now we'll start attack. Okay, so here we can see the combinations generated between the username and the password. So once the complete combinations are generated, we can try to select them and check whether the proper HTML is getting rendered or not. Okay, so based on the payload 1 and payload 1 is username, payload 2 is password. Based on the options which I have given, it is generating the username and password options here. So we can see all possible combinations are getting generated. Okay, so these are the options coming under intruder, whether this attack, how this attack needs to be conducted. We'll come to results. Okay, right now this is finished. We'll select one particular combination of username and password, and then check the response from here, render the response. Okay, here you can see username or password is incorrect, so that's not the combination. We'll check some other combination. Okay, username and password is incorrect again. Okay, welcome to the password protected area admin. Okay, so this means the brute force attack is done. This is like admin is the login and password is the password for this. Here we can save this attack because we need to give the proof of concept for like the VAPT will be conducted for one website. So for the developers or for the organizations, like the complete proof of concept needs to be given. So all these things will be saved. Intruder will have many other attack types, like for finding Yeah, here we can see the different attack types: sniper attack or battering ram, pitchfork, and cluster bomb. These four are the main attack types performed by Bubsuit tool. Okay, so that's all about the vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. Thank you.